Welcome to Hyperpolyglot Activist, Learn Languages, Make a Difference. My name is Dr. Carlos Yebra Lopez, and today we're going to discuss 3 lessons I learned during my 1,000-day streak on Duolingo. Now, the first lesson is that Duolingo will not teach you a language. Yes, you heard that right. Duolingo will not teach you a language. And these for 2 main reasons. Now, the first one is that, as I explained in the video whose link you can see on top of the screen, languages cannot be taught. They can only be learned, or even better, acquired. And so when you expect an app such as Duolingo or any other app for that matter to teach you a language, you're falling into the trap of conceptualizing language learning as a passive journey. And that's not the way you ought to think about it if you want to be successful. Learning a language is something you have to make happen. You have to go out there proactively and get the kind of structure, resources, and guidance that will allow you to succeed. But ultimately, it is incumbent upon you to make that happen. And the second reason is that Duolingo is just a tool. So people go to the extremes with Duolingo. They either say, Duolingo is the best app ever. You can learn a language just by doing it every day, which is false. And on the other hand, you have other people who say, well, Duolingo is completely useless. You don't learn anything meaningful there. You're just wasting your time. It's just a game. The truth, as it is often the case, lies somewhere in between. Duolingo is useful, yes, but it is a tool. It's not an end in itself. If you want to be successful using Duolingo, you have to combine Duolingo with more elements within a complex matrix of language learning. If you want to know what you have to combine Duolingo with in order for your language learning journey to be successful, you can click on the link on top of the screen where I explain exactly how to combine Duolingo with other language learning resources. Now, the second lesson that I learned is that if you want to keep that streak going, you're going to be oftentimes incentivized to fall into the trap of what I've called vanity reps. I have explained this concept in the video whose link you can see on top of the screen, but essentially a vanity rep is a repetition of a sentence that you do just to score points, just for the sake of augmenting the quantity of days in your streak, and you don't really learn anything by doing that. Moreover, you're conscious of the fact that you're not really learning anything, and yet you still go out there and do that repetition nonetheless because you care more about the number in your streak than about the content of the sentence you just did. Does that make sense? So it is very, very important to always stay focused on what your ultimate goal is, which is not to complete the streak per se, but to complete the streak as part of your language learning process. So I guess the takeaway is to stay disciplined, regardless of how flashy the incentives look and how cool it would be to tell all of your friends that you just completed a 1,000-day streak. You still have to be mindful of the fact that the streak is not the goal per se. It's just a means to the end of learning that language. So stay focused and pay your undivided attention to each sentence. Do it slowly. Write things down if you need to. Repeat things out loud and do not skip any step in the process. Make every repetition count. And the final lesson that I learned, and this is perhaps the most important one, is discipline over motivation. The difference between discipline and motivation is that motivation is a short-term thing. You will feel motivated to learn a language in the earliest stages. First week, first month, perhaps even the first year, but eventually it will fade. So unless you have the discipline to go along with that motivation, you will drop out. You will give up on that language. Hence a saying that I've heard in the world of boxing, but that I also like applying to language learning, which will go something like this. Motivation will take you around the block, but discipline will take you around the world. If you want to be a successful polyglot, you need the discipline first and foremost. Understand that a significant number of days, maybe even most days, you will not have the motivation to study that language whose acquisition you have made a goal of yourself, and that it is at that precise moment that you need to tap into a strong discipline to get out there, put that practice in, and continue learning that language that you desire to acquire. People oftentimes ask me in consultations, well, Carlos, what do I do if learning a language begins feeling like a task? If I'm not having fun anymore, what do I do then? And the short-term feel-good answer is, well, switch it up, try to make it entertaining, resort to songs, to TV series, etc. But even that can get repetitive in the long term. So the real painful answer is you're going to have to rely on your discipline. Eventually, if you keep that disciplined practice, you will find yourself 2 weeks, 3 weeks down the road, having again that motivation and that burning desire to practice that language. Just because that motivation faded for a couple of weeks does not mean that it's not going to come back eventually. It will come back. You just have to remember that when that motivation is low, you need to stay in the course, keep your goal in mind, and stay focused and disciplined. That's how you're going to be successful in the long run. So if you don't remember anything else from this video, remember this: discipline over motivation if you want to be successful at anything in life, really, but in particular at language learning. So that's all from me. I hope these 3 lessons were useful to you. If you have also completed a long streak on Duolingo, perhaps 1,000 days, perhaps 2,000 days, etc., please leave your feedback in the comments down below. And as always, thanks for watching.